be talking about that. Delroy, you back with us?
Yes, I'm back. I'm back.
All right,
Probably the signal.
fantastic. So, we took a little break there, but we were just talking about when you dropped off there, just talking about the impact on the stock prices, with the general election coming up on September 3rd. You want to keep going?
Yes. I did a little research today, and I saw since August the market has been trending down because we're
Yes.
at 376,000 points, I think, and now we're at 370. So it has been a marginal decline going through the month of August here. And go ahead, Mark.
And do you find, Delroy, that as an investor, do you track the index more or do you track the stock prices more? And what do you recommend? So for us, typically, there's a lot of investors out there who are tracking, the indices. I recommend typically tracking actually the stock prices or the stocks that you're investing in. The indices can sometimes mislead you because the indices are market capitalization indices. So you'll tend to find, that you have big companies like NCB, Scotiabank. And so you'll hear a lot of persons tend to actually, say that the indices went up 1,000 points today. But the reality is that, NCB had a big day. Let's say NCB stock price jumped by, $5, $10, and the indices jumped. So, you want to be careful about looking at the indices. I mean, Delroy, you're back now. You're just talking about how the indices were doing. I was asking you really, do you tend to track the indices, whether it's the All Jamaica, the main market, or do you tend to track the individual stock prices?
No, I track two things, individual and the main index. That's what I track, the main. A little attention to the junior market, of course, because I have stocks in both portfolio, but I like to watch the main index.
And do you tend to find, for the average investor out there, is it good for them to track the indices? Do you think that's a good thing? Or do you think sometimes it's skewed and it might, I don't want to use the word trick them, but do you find it sometimes it can possibly, skew what is really happening with their portfolio or the market?
It can be a combination, because for me, you derive your own portfolio, and because the movement decide where the index goes. That's pretty much it. So you have to look at your individual portfolio. It depends on the strategy, whether you buy for trading or you buy for the long term. Buy and hold. You buy.
So we have a good comment here saying, that's by Joe, just talking about he prefers to do the individual stocks. He's a pretty sophisticated investor. What would you think about that, Delroy? If somebody wanted to invest in unit trusts or mutual funds or individual stocks, you have any preference whether it's an individual stock versus a mutual fund?
Well, if you think you know what you're doing, then you go for the individual stock because you pay no one. But if you don't know and you want to rely on the investment house, then you go the units, because you're in a portfolio and your risk kind of diversify. So it all depends on the investor's choice,
And getting back to the topic at hand, Delroy, why do you feel, one would have seen 10 years ago, 15 years ago in Jamaica, if we had an election now, worse with COVID now, the market would be off 1,000, 2,000, maybe 5,000 points. Why are we not seeing the stock market sell off in Jamaica with the recent announcement of, over the last couple of weeks, 89 cases of COVID in St. Thomas, all this bad news coming out. I mean, Palace Amusement losing $90 million. I mean, almost every company in the stock exchange. Dolphin Cove losing $1 million US. I mean, huge losses of companies on the stock exchange. And the market is just sitting there flat, doing nothing. What's happening there, and why aren't the stock prices, falling or crashing like what happened in 2008?
No, you have to go again. You have to go again, Mark.
I'm saying why aren't the stock prices dropping? Especially when the average investor asks us, Why is the stock market falling now with all the uncertainty in the economy?
All right, because uncertainty actually drives down share price, because it's for persons who don't understand, it's pretty much a guessing game for them. And there's nothing like an investor who want to know that I put down $1 and I can go back and get my dollar plus something. The stock market doesn't work that way, because you buy a stock today, it can run up or it can run down. So there's kind of our market has matured since the last 10 years, of course. It has matured big time. And we have had a lot of external publicity to say we have been the best among stock market based on performance. So persons believe in our market. It's not big enough. It's not big enough. And interestingly, it is even getting a little bit more liquid, because remember, you can buy even one share now.
Do you think Delroy, it's because we have more investors now in the stock market because of Wigton as well as Trans Jamaica, and those average investors are keeping up the bid prices, or because you just said the market's more liquid? Is that what is helping the stock market have a wider base now?
I'm going to put a guess on it, that I think it is still more the institutional investors that will keep the market stable. Because the newer person that joined the market, not having full understanding, they would more panic and more want to leave the market than those seasoned persons. That's my take on it.
But if a company like Dolphin Cove has lost $1 million US, if Palace has lost 92 million Jamaican, and we can go over a list of another, say, 5, 10 companies who just reported losses, why aren't those stock prices now dropping off even 10%, 20%?
It's a very simple math. You don't have many more places to go and put that money.
So that's what we want to get to. Is that what you think the reason is? There's nowhere else for the average Jamaican investor to go into right now?
Very little. And they don't want to go chasing the US. Look at the rate of the US now.
Right.
Huh? So
you attribute it to Delroy that the average investor won't be able to go into real estate now. There's no interest income for them to get anymore from the repo market. There's no bonds for them to buy. So there's nowhere else for them to put their money.
So pretty limited options for those persons.
Okay.
Because the funny thing about it, a lot of persons with capital don't want to start a business.
Okay.
They don't want to start a business. They're not entrepreneurs. They're not going to get out there and burn that money. They rather to put it somewhere and let somebody else work it for them. And that's pretty much what the stock market is.
We have a question here for you, Sir D or Sir J. We have a question here from Joe for you. Is that he wants to know, do you think the market should be more promoted? Should there be more information out there about the stock market?
Oh, definitely. Information coming to the right source from the right person can't be too much. But you don't want a lot of little information flying all over the place and not giving good guidance to persons. So of course, we'd welcome it. We'd welcome it.
And how do you think, I mean, is it something that should be done just by the brokerages? Is it the stock exchange, the credit unions, or what are some examples of where you think how could the market get more information out there, to his question?
Okay. All the stakeholders, whether it be the brokerage houses, the stock exchange itself, other investors, seminars, a lot of webinars. You know, the stock exchange has been pushing quite a bit. If you notice their page, if you follow their page, there is something every day about the market. So they are getting there. They are definitely getting there. They are doing tremendous work. Marketing.
Because I think we have something now like 200. I mean, I remember 10, 15 years ago. I mean, our numbers might be slightly inaccurate. We had something like 100,000, JCSD accounts or investors for a long time. But I think the number is now almost 200,000 investors.
Since Wigton and since the government, there has been some work to bring new investors to the market.
Okay, and And the FX rate, Delroy, do you think the average investor or investors understand that with the FX rate at 150 now, they are potentially losing some real value in, you know, their Jamaican dollar investment, or are they looking at it more from a long-term perspective?
You know, couple of years, I might touch on something that is not so popular,
Yes.
but a couple of years ago, the whole idea of a fixed exchange rate,
Yeah.
or dollarization, you name, came about, and governments have to manage citizens' expectation, and they don't want to lose favor with the population, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they would not take up dollarization because you're giving up independence of your Jamaican dollar. You'd be losing
right.
right
Your sovereign
right?
money. You wouldn't be able
Yeah.
to publish. You wouldn't be able to really print or publish, you know, your
Right.
sovereign currency anymore. Right.
So no government would want to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
The next best alternative for us, based on resource and everything, would be fixed exchange rate. Because I
Right.
have been around the Eastern Caribbean, for argument's sake, and they have fixed rate among the Eastern Bloc countries, the smaller islands. And it's not that their economy is performing better than ours per se, no. It's not. But they are able to have US. There is EC 270 to 1 US. And it's pretty stable. It has been like that for the longest while. One, they're not as big as us. They are not even producing as much as us. And they're not even earning as much foreign exchange as we are earning. But because they have a... Go ahead, man.
What's your opinion? Do you feel actually on a different topic, but related to this? You think Jamaica should be dollarized, or you feel we should have kind of like a, you know, instead of having a floating or quasi, you feel we should have something that is fixed, like, you know, kind of what they have in, you know, Bahamas or Cayman or some of these other countries, or what? How do you feel about it? Just personally, and just your opinion in terms of your experience in the financial sector.
Personal for me, dollarization, no.
Okay.
Because I've seen how the fixed exchange rate work, especially in the block of the Eastern Caribbean countries. Then that is something that the economists, because I'm not an economist, so probably that is something the economists could look at and give it serious thought. The auctioning system and all of that, it really never worked. Right. So let us get them together in a room and just examine the pluses of the fixed exchange rate and see how it might assist us even in the next 2 to 3 years. So we're not saying run and implement it, but kind of do a steady walkthrough, and you never can tell. So I would support a fixed exchange rate. There's no if nor but about it, because it gives you good planning. The businesses can relate. You know exactly what your goods will cost. So it will assist somehow at this point in time with proper management of resources. I'm sure that.
Right. No, that makes sense. And how do you feel about the stock market now, Delroy? Do you feel it is overpriced? Do you feel it is on par with valuations, or do you feel it's undervalued? Well, how do you personally feel about just the stock market overall now, well, given this event of, you know, COVID factored in as well? How do you feel about it?
Well, you whet my appetite, because I still believe they're undervalued. I believe the general market is undervalued. The general market.
And is that a cross section of only a few, or is that a broad cross section when you use the word undervalued?
That's what I'm saying. On an average, I think it is undervalued on an average.
Interesting.
Under.
Okay. So it's not just saying you would say there's 5 or 10 or 15 stocks. You feel the index or the indices is generally undervalued.
Yes, ma'am. When the time going to come when it is moving, people are going to be surprised, because it just requires a little bit of stability. And remember, very much unstable right now, because remember, We have the COVID. We have no production, no activity, nothing much. We basically closed from the rest of the world, so to speak, in terms of earnings. So once we are open up, then the market will find its uptick. Because it's still going to be one of the better places to get a return on your money from an investing standpoint, unless you directly going to put it into a business for yourself.
And what do you think is causing the kind of the instability? Is it really primarily just that COVID has created a dampening on investor expectations, or is it a a multitude of things, or is it just really COVID is kind of the overlying dampener?
We can't forget that an election would have called, and because of our system where we have to wait on the prime minister to call instead of a fixed date, when it get around that time, it starts to create some amount of uncertainty and anxiety. When you have that level of uncertainty plus anxiety, because there are two different things, then you find dollar move. People pull back on purchases. People don't want to put too much in there because they don't know what will happen. They don't know when it will call. So we are now becoming a mature country. After all this independence, we're celebrating it, but we're going down the wrong road and looking at some things that we need to do. Right? So I can put my neck out there and say, we should have a fixed election date. It will better the economy. No question about it. We at this time can look at fixed exchange rate. If you just imagine putting those two things together, we might never realize the bounce we might get in this economy.
And Delroy, if an investor said to you, look, I feel my investment theory is that, you know what, I'm not bullish on the stock markets, and I feel like I just want to buy US cash, or let's say US dollars, and I just want to hold US dollars because I think the dollar will continue to devalue, and I'll make 10, 12, 15% if I just hold US currency. How you feel about someone's opinion, if that's their opinion?
Well, holding US is a next man form of investment, because it will rise. So there's whatever method you use, nothing is wrong with that, because that person is not necessarily speculating. That person is making a conscious investment decision that I am investing in the most popular currency. Because remember, we have the pound, Cayman, the CI, we have the euro, we have many currencies, but the most popular trading one for us is the US, right? And remember, when inflation moves, Mark, there is pretty much a few things that keep you ahead of inflation. Currency, real estate. Those are the two bases that keep you at inflation levels every time.
Right.
You will never be underneath it based on those, if you use those investment tools. Right? So I have no problem with a person who is investing in currency. Nothing wrong with that.
Right. But do you feel though that the US dollar on a devaluation basis will outperform the Jamaica stock market over the next 12 months? I guess that's the $1 million question. Depending on when these companies will rebound from COVID. Will the companies rebound from COVID by next year March, next year June? Is it a better bet? Is it a better bet to keep your funds in US dollars versus buying some shares?
That's a tricky question. I will address that question after the election.
Well, that's why we're here tonight, is to ask some good questions.
Yes, but I will answer that question after the election. Because because what happened is that the election message coming through from the candidates, from both parties, is dub for dub, money on top of money, Kyle tick like dumpling, whatever. The next jogging shoes, whatever. And I am saying to you is that depending on the message that they are putting out, which we are still waiting for some of the messages leading up to the election, is not how much stock of money or your clerk that you're going to run into, but I think people will be voting on the issues, right?
Right.
So put the issues out there. Let the people choose. And I am saying to you, I will address that question depending on the winner of the election. Because remember, confidence go, confidence comes, right? And it depends on how fast the economy is able to rally behind the new party or the winner of the election. Because some people might take a while some people might just buy on the same time. And it can lift a level of confidence and investment that can probably either stabilize the rate or send the rate a little further.
So that and Delroy, compared to last week, are there any other new entries into your portfolio that you're bullish on, or are you bullish on the same basket of 4 or 5 stocks that you mentioned last week? Are there any other different equities or stocks that you are like the last week or so has changed your mind on?
Yeah, well, not change but add. And I can say it, I made an attempt to I posted a video where I was going live on the J Trader Pro, right? And
what is it? And Delroy, just for our what is a J Trader Pro? I mean, there's been I get lots of questions on that in the market. There's sometimes there's misunderstanding on that. Is that something where you can just connect directly to it as any Jamaican citizen, or you got to go through a brokerage? I mean, how does this whole J Trader Pro work?
You have to go through a brokerage because your fund resides or is domiciled, meaning it rests on a brokerage account. So you must go to a brokerage.
And is there a fee? You have to pay a one-time fee or an annual fee, or is it expensive?
The trading fee compared to what you'd pay directly when the trader execute the trade at the trading house is pretty minimal. It's pretty minimal. It's pretty minimal.
I mean, is it like $100,000 a year or $10,000 a year? Like what type of fee are you talking about? Just roughly.
No, it's a percentage of the trade. I think it is 0.75. I think you'd pay like 2% to the brokerage house. I think you pay 0.75 or something like that. But it's not much. It's not much.
Okay. But it doesn't eliminate the broker. It's not like a fintech strategy that goes around the stockbroker, like through the stock exchange. I mean, it's a collaboration between the broker and the stock exchange.
Yeah, man. And remember, the brokers back in my time, I know they own the stock exchange. Back in my time, they usually have seats, right? So technically speaking, it does not devalue their position, so to speak, as earnings because they're getting it right back in the circle. That's what I know, right? But
so what stocks are you bullish on now? Any changes? Yeah.
It is selling now at 77 cents.
Sounds like a penny stock, a high risk stock, or
no, man. On the Jamaican stock market, it is selling at 77 cents. It trade today, it closed today at 77 cents.
And
you don't know which one that is?
What company is that?
You don't know which one that is?
No, I need you to educate me today. Look like you're having a hard time remembering as well.
Yeah, because I get in on it based on the price, and when I look at the price, I said, well, I need to take off this one. It's one of the newer issues,
it's a recent IPO or recently listed company.
Yeah, man.
Is it Wigton?
Wigton.
It's Wigton. Okay, and they just came out.
WIG.
And they just came out with results as well too. So you've kind of added that to your 4 or 5 stocks you mentioned last week.
And this is sheer base and opportunity that will come from it. And the price, I can wait it out.
And why are you more bullish on Wigton now? What you like about Wigton, as compared to whether it's a week ago or even a quarter ago? Why you feel better about them?
For me, it's simple. When the market moves, that will give me one of the greatest gains. It's as simple as that. So remember.
Yeah. No, keep going. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was saying your friend from Jamaica from last week, he's still bullish on QWI. Although the company keeps slumping, the net asset value has been a bit, kind of firm at $1.05. I think the market price is still 69.70 cents, but he keeps coming back and says, QWI is a good sleeper. It's a good buy. We definitely have to, I guess, have him on the show and hear more from him why, he's so bullish on the great QWI, the affiliated party of Jamaican Teas and, KIW and many of these stocks, but he's very bullish on QWI.
I'm going to address Jamaica. Good night, Jamaica. I looked at QWI and honestly, I compare it with Wicton. And I went with Wicton. That's all I will say. I actually looked at it. So probably the investment advisor, that licensed one, can tell a person why they should or should not give their opinion on that. Right? But that's exactly what I did. I heard you last week and I went, I look at Wicton, and I decide that I'm going to take a piece of Wicton. A very small piece, but that's it.
And what's good there, right? Because we're going to wrap it up now.
All right.
It's 9 o'clock, a little bit past 9 o'clock. But what's good is
no, it's fine. I think we can use up another 5 minutes. We can use up another 5 minutes.
What's good is that you and him have some agreement now, Jamaica actually agrees with you that Wicton is not a bad buy. And he agrees with you. So that's good. You and him agree on something this week. Last week you and him couldn't agree on anything whatsoever.
Boy, I am happy. I feel like I'm in a good place.
Yes. But we definitely have to have him on one of these upcoming weeks, He sounds like a learned person.
Yes.
We have a good question here too about Mailpack. Mailpack, good foundation stock. They came out with a quarter that wasn't as good. We've seen a couple of analysts out there actually drop them out of their portfolio. One or two bloggers, they came out with 4 cents a share for their quarter. I like Mailpack a lot. I think they'll do well. Delroy, how you feel about Mailpack?
I have no interest in Mailpack. I have no interest.
Delroy, you're blunt tonight, I like this, Delroy.
Yes, because know your money matters.
You're buying or selling,
Know your money matters is all about keeping it real, providing financial awareness. It's money mark. It's about the same thing. So I am saying there is a myriad of stocks on the market. I cannot go through all. I will not buy all. And I take a little portfolio because I don't have that much money anyway to buy everything. So I think I am.
So I'm bullish on. I like Mailpack. Mailpack is one of my 5 or 6 stocks. Mailpack, Seprod, Indus Pharma. We'll talk more about them. But Delroy, Know Your Money Matters has his 6 stocks. We're gonna be tracking them. I've named my 5 or 6, and we'll see how it goes. It's a good time with COVID now to kind of pivot your portfolio and get very active with what's going on. It's not a time to keep still, and just keeping some of the traditional stocks right now.
Welcome, Venposh. Welcome. I know I am actually doing the reverse tonight. I am actually joined as Mark's co-host on It's Money Mark. So we build this bond between last week and this week. Where again, Know Your Money Matters is doing it first, because I'm normally the one that the person's logged onto as my co-host. We flip it around. So every single week, there is something new from Know Your Money Matters.
And the most important thing, Delroy, we have to set the Jamaics and everybody is make sure they talk to their financial advisor, right?
Yes, man. Talk to your financial advisor. We're sorry for those persons joining late, but remember, we are a half-hour program.
That's
with
right.
Like interaction. And Mark, I'm actually thinking something, We need to find a way to get these persons on live. But I don't know how we probably have to be in the same.
What we're going to do, I think we definitely have to get Jamaica. He sounds very boisterous and good commentary, so we're going to get him to join on to a show or two. But let's wrap it up, Delroy. Remind everybody to talk to their financial advisor. I think we're hitting the 30-minute mark now. Drive safe, be safe, and especially with COVID now.
Tomorrow's a big day. Tomorrow's a big day in Jamaica. Tomorrow's a big day in Jamaica. It is the beginning.
Well said.
It's the beginning of the election process for September 3rd. It's a nomination day. And if a man is not nominated, he have no talk. No talk. No talk. So it's a very serious day. And we will keep.
And it is a day also to be safe because the COVID numbers are jumping more than the stock market right now. So it's a
That
time
is
to
true.
stay indoors and be safe to all of our watchers.
So Mark, before you go, we are saying that we want to look at fixed exchange rate. We want to look at fixed election day. What else we want to
Yes.
look at?
Boy, we want to also just be safe during this COVID time now. That is very important. And speak to your financial advisor, as Know Your Money Matters says.
Wiggers, no talk. All right, Wiggers. And we
All
are
right,
very happy
Delroy,
to have.
we're gonna sign off and run, and we're gonna catch everybody next week. All right.
Good, my
Excellent.
friend.
Yeah,
Good,
man.
my
Thank
friend.
you very much. Thanks for joining us. Drive safe.
All right. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Cool, buddy.
Bye, everyone. Catch you. Remember our YouTube page as well. Catch us on it. All right.